Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Coons, one of the reference librarians at the Haverford Township Free Library with your Monday Reading with Reference. I'm going to go to the first slide here. The book I want to talk about, actually I want to talk a little bit about two other books, but the book that I finished reading this week is called Me and White Supremacy, Combat Racism, Change the World, and Become a Good Ancestor by Layla Saad. I listened to the audiobook, and this book is based on, the reason I wanted to read it is that I've been interested in the subject matter for race in the United States for a couple of years now, and I've been reading a lot of books on the subject. And after the murder of George Floyd and the subsequent protests, I became more interested and was finding a lot of good reading lists. This, I'm not sure, was on the reading list, but I also started following some folks on Instagram. This author, Layla Saad, is one of the women that I started following. And I saw that she wrote this book. It turns out that the book is based on a 2018 Instagram challenge that she put out to her white followers on Instagram, where they sort of work on an issue a day. The goal of which is for white people, and to a lesser degree lighter skinned people of color, to understand the privileges and benefits and advantages they enjoy, oftentimes without even realizing it, and then to move beyond that. So she wrote this book, and it's really meant more as a workbook. I wouldn't put it under self-help. There is a spiritual element in a way, because I think her, like the followers on Instagram, it's sort of like, there's, I don't know how to describe it, but there's a little bit of a spiritual element. And she does talk about being a good ancestor, which is about, if you do the work for trying to make the world a better, more just place in your own small way, whatever that is, that you can then become a good ancestor of the people who come before you. So she talks about, for example, John Lewis as being a good ancestor. Actually, I don't remember if that was like on Instagram that she said that or in the book. But for example, you have people who really worked hard and risked their lives to make the world a little bit of a better place for those coming after them. So that's one of her. She emphasizes that. So yeah, the title. So she acknowledges that the title is could be very provocative and rub white people, especially, the wrong way. And she says that there's a reason she did not title the book something more like Me and Implicit Bias or something like that. She says that one should call a thing, and that it is descriptive of most of the cultures in the world, actually, that white skin is regarded as superior to darker skins. She says white supremacy is an ideology, paradigm, and interconnected system of institutions that support and uphold the firm belief that white people are superior to Black people and Indigenous people of color. She says, quote, "It is a system of oppression that confers unearned advantages and privileges to one group of people at the expense of other groups of people. It is an ideology that perpetuates harm through discrimination, abuse, racist stereotypes, and criminalization." So the book is really about it is aimed for white people. It's about looking at how I, as a white person, can move out of being part of the problem, because the things that I enjoy are at the expense of other people. And so, I can say that even though my ancestors may not have been slave owners, there is it doesn't matter, because I'm enjoying privileges now that are to the expense of other folks who have darker skin than me. There's a lot that I can go into that, which I won't, but the book sort of talks more about that. So that's another reason that I wanted to read this. I was interested in another perspective, and how she was and where she was coming from. So her perspective, actually her personal perspective, is that she was born in East Africa, raised in the UK. She is Muslim, so she was raised as she was living for most of her formative years in a white-dominated culture, or Christian-dominated culture. And she currently lives in Qatar, in Doha, Qatar. Or is it Dohan? Sorry, Qatar. She lives in Qatar. So that the book is formatted it's by week, much like she did the Instagram challenge. And she addresses an element of white privilege with each day. So, for example, white silence. So somebody makes a racist comment, or to a large degree, they're racist policies. What do I do as a white person? Do I just say nothing because it's too much of a pain to say something? Or do I, stand up and say something? Do I support people who maybe politicians or other governmental officials who are fighting for more equality and more of a just system? White apathy was also another thing that she talked about, which is this idea of, I feel bad about that, but it's not my problem, so let me pretend that it doesn't exist. Color blindness, when white people don't see whiteness as a race and say that they don't see color. And that, so there's that. So I think I want to say most, I'm going to talk about myself, are just learning about the breadth and depth of white supremacy and how it harms Black and Indigenous people of color. She also talks about how many progressive white liberals, there's a term also called white exceptionalism, which is like, well, I'm one of the good ones because I don't say racist things and I have a Black friend or something like that. And that doesn't, make you not have your white privilege and the benefits that come with that and the choices that you have that people of color don't have. What else does she say? So the final chapter of the book invites the reader to explore what it means to be an ally to Black and Indigenous people of color. What does that look like? And it's often uncomfortable. It isn't often unrewarded. And this book is not, it's like a workbook, but it's not your typical self-help book. It's not meant to make you feel good or feel better or feel like a better person when you finished it, because she does, of course, emphasize that this kind of work is lifelong, and it's not like you read a book and then you got it and then you're a good person. So there's that part of it too. It's the way she sort of addresses this. Well, I want to be a good person, or I want to be like woke or cool or whatever it is, as a white person, in helping to be an ally to people of color. And it's not really about what you look like or how you seem, but what are you doing? So I appreciated that. She talks about relinquishing privilege, and that, by me as a white person, relinquishing my privilege doesn't mean that I'm necessarily losing it. It means I'm sharing it, or using the privilege that I have to help bring some justice to people who don't have that privilege. So she talks about taking responsibility for my own anti-racist education that I've had in my life, and not, expecting my one Black friend or to explain it all to me, but really doing my own reading and learning about it and talking about it. Also talking to friends and family, talking to other white people about this, speaking out when something is unjust around me or when racist comments are made, supporting businesses, projects, causes that benefit Black and Indigenous people of color. So this was, all in all, I think it would work really well for groups of people, groups of white people who want to do good, the progressive liberals who are open to this kind of work and really are okay with taking a hard look at how we help uphold this system. What I want to say, the thing I want to say about the book also is that she integrates a lot of ideas from other authors and thinkers and scholars, both many Black and some white. And there isn't a whole lot of original content I found in this book. At the same time, she lays it out in a way that is easy to understand. I just have to say, as listening to the audiobook, I really loved the way she read. She read slowly enough. Her enunciation was fantastic. I was just like music to my ears listening to her voice and her accent. So that was helpful. But I did find that if you want to read about racism, white supremacy, and these types of issues, there are a lot of other really good books out there. I'm just going to show you two that I have read. So you want to talk about race? I recently finished as part of a book group, a Delaware County book group, and Delaware County Libraries staff book group. And what I liked about it was there were a lot of personal stories. She interwove a lot of her personal experience, which I did not find so much in the book I just talked about, the Layla Saad book, and just seemed more substantive. And also just another perspective. I mean, this is someone who grew up in the United States, whose mother was white, father was Black, and she just talks about her experience. And it's so important for me. I don't have that experience, so I want to read first-person accounts of people who have that experience, and then I like to read laterally across different voices who have similar experience but from different perspectives. And then this book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Ibram X. Kendi. Really good. He's a really wonderful writer and thinker, and I appreciate the way he talks about racism, and particularly he defines racism as a descriptive rather than a pejorative, rather than pointing a finger. And he talks about how you can have racist beliefs and racist thoughts 1 minute and have anti-racist thoughts or beliefs another minute, so that no one is necessarily like a racist, because the racism is more of a way of thinking. It's an ideology, and that you can switch it. You can switch to the other way. You can switch to anti-racism. I'm only about a third of the way through that book now, so I can't really review it. But I listened to all of them. Bonnie Turpin reads, so you want to talk about race. She's one of my favorite readers. Ibram X. Kendi reads his own work. So that is my Monday reading with reference. Some heavy stuff, important stuff. I really do love learning about this. I say love. It's not easy, but I think it's essential and important. So thanks so much. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.